Hi everyone. It is March 19th, 2012. I'm shooting this in Waterville, Vermont. It's freakishly hot right now. It's supposed to be a normal high this time of year of around 42 degrees, and we've got almost 80 degrees. So this weather's like never been seen before. It's completely stopped the maple syrup business in its tracks. So I thought I'd take this opportunity of extra warm weather to shoot this experimental video with Hoya praetorii. I bought this plant about 8 or 9 months ago. It came from Thailand. It arrived in horrible shape, but it did come back. It has flowered probably a dozen times, and it is the world's ugliest plant right now. There's just one long stem with a few yellow leaves. There's a peduncle on the top where the last time it bloomed. I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to try to cut this plant up, and I'm going to try it in different media to see what might grow this plant the best. It's a big chance to take. I hate to lose the plant, but primarily because it's just a hard plant to procure. I am going to take the chance though, just because it's in such miserable shape. So I'm looking at this plant, and I'm hoping what I can do is to get 3 cuttings, leaving what's left in the pot to possibly be able to grow again. So I'm going to begin by cutting on the bottom of this plant. This is going to be very hard thing to do because, like I said, I really don't want to lose this plant. I'll probably never be able to get another one again. So I'm going to cut it right there. There, it's done. So there's no turning back now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the bottom of this plant. I'm going to attempt to cut it right here. And we're going to take this and we're going to dip it in some rooting hormone. Right here, Olivia's cloning gel. Don't know how much it really will amount to, but we're gonna try that. I'm gonna take a pot. I'm gonna take some regular potting soil that I have pre-mixed up. And I'm going to shove that cutting right down inside of there. Then I'm going to take this water, which I have added a little bit of KLN rooting concentrate into, and I'm going to fully dampen this potting soil. And we're going to let it soak in the water so it truly wicks up and fully moistens the planting medium. We'll set that in there for now and just let it soak up. Now we're going to take this cutting and we are going to attempt to get another cutting out of this. I'm just trying to decide where the best place to take that cutting is. I'm going to take that cutting right here. And what I am going to do is we are going to cut one leaf off of here. Actually, I'm going to cut 2. I'm hoping that roots will develop at this former leaf node. So once again, we dip that into the cloning gel. Another pot. And we're going to push that right down in there. And once again, we're going to water that well. Eventually, it'll run right through this medium, but it will eventually pool in the bottom, and it will begin they will begin soaking that up. And then when I pull them out, I'll drain it out well, and the medium will be fully moistened. Now, for an additional experiment, I've always wanted to try this thing in semi-hydro to find out if it will take. So we're going to cut these leaves off the bottom, and we are going to take our semi-hydro pot, which I just made up by pushing a hot screwdriver through here. And we're going to take this plant, push it right down in there, those rocks. Then we're going to take, and we're going to fill in all around it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pots and I'm going to fully enclose them in a plastic bag, and hopefully they will root. It's a big chance, but one that I'm going to take. Now we're going to come back and we're going to revisit these plants in probably 2 months, and I will take the video from that point on, and I will let you know if these did indeed root and how they look. Let's keep our fingers crossed, and I'll see you in a couple months. Hi, welcome back to the second part of my Hoya praetorii video. It's almost 9 weeks to the day since I took the daring plunge to actually cut my expensive praetorii up into a bunch of sections. Now we're going to revisit that, and we're going to see how the cuttings fared and just exactly what happened to them. So, this right here was the original plant. I cut it off right here. We have approximately 6 inches of new growth on here. This was not, all I did was take this out of the pot, hose off the roots, put it back in there. There was only 2 leaves left on here when I, or 3 leaves I guess, when I chopped it off. So this alone made another plant, which was a pleasant surprise. Here are the 2 cuttings that I started in soil. This one here has about 4 inches of new growth. We have 2 new leaves, 2 more started here, a little pedicle on the end, doing very well. Here's the second one, second cutting that I started in soil. Same deal here, about 4 inches of new growth. We have 4 new leaves, nice fresh stem growing here, and we have a pedicle on the end of this newly established plant. So, very exciting. Now we're going to go to the cutting that I started in semi-hydro to compare it to the 2 that I started in soil and the one that was chopped off remaining in soil. So, here we are. I think it's pretty amazing that we have a bloom. I thought I'd have to wait another year before I get a bloom on this plant. And here we are, just 9 weeks later after I chopped this plant off. This was the tip of that praetorii, if you remember. And we have a beautiful bloom. You have to excuse me, but the black flies are out right now and they're crawling in my eyes. So I'm very excited about this plant. Now we have about probably the same 6 inches of new growth on here. This was kept in a plastic bag up until very recently, so we had about 100% humidity. But the semi-hydro did fantastic with this. I don't know if I could have achieved a bloom with this. I can't really say that this was a completely controlled experiment and that you should only grow this Hoya praetorii in semi-hydro, because the very best cutting, the very tip that already had a peduncle, an established peduncle on the plant, went into the semi-hydro. So the cuttings weren't truly all equal. But I still think it's remarkable that this plant, just 9 weeks after cutting it off, would actually produce a beautiful bloom. This thing is completely filled with roots. You can see that the roots are coming out of the holes that I pushed through the bottom of this plastic container. I'm getting more and more excited and becoming a bigger and bigger believer in this method of growing Hoyas. It clearly does work extremely well for certain Hoyas. My only concern would be in the northern houses in the wintertime. If you're not growing these in grow tents or in grow rooms, my fear with the semi-hydro would be that the atmosphere might be just too dry in the house and you'd have too hard of a time to keep this properly moistened unless you were able to water it 2 to 3 times a day. So that's the only thing I'm sort of concerned with. But as this winter comes along, I will play around more with that and I will report back. So I'm very excited. I was afraid I might lose this plant, and instead of one gangly plant, I ended up with four praetories out of this. Anyway, I thank you for watching this little video. I think it gives food for thought, and I hope if you're not trying semi-hydro yet, this might bring you around to give it a try, at least on a couple plants.